Empire, this is Nite of Misfortune with EmpireStrategy, bringing you another replay commentary of Supreme Commander 2. Today I've got a special 3v3 of two clans in Supreme Commander 2. We've got on the left and OSS on the right, my clan, and I'm actually playing in this one, and I don't really like casting myself, but I thought this was a pretty decent 3v3 and I was looking for a good 3v3 to cast, so I said, why not? Let's do it. Alright, so let's introduce the players. For Team we have Polar Bear spawning as yellow UEF. As our air player, or in the air spot, has Ori spawning as white UEF, and our third player is Dr. Crazy, spawning as blue Cybern. Interestingly enough, these players were recently re-recruited by Interesting. But I'm not going to go too deeply into that discussion. But anyhow, let's introduce our OSS players. We've got myself, OSS Nite, currently playing as Motherfucker, playing as Orange Aeon. Obviously a bit of a disadvantage against UEF Air, but we've got OSS Mr. Steal Your Girl as Teal UEF, and below we have OSS Shadow, aka Kitty Litter, aka I don't even know how many names he had, a lot of names. He is playing as Green Aeon as well. So this map is pretty interesting because there is obviously a very narrow space here with a little island in the middle, which makes for interesting contested battles, and we've got this center podium here. So both of our frontal land players, or I guess standard land, I don't know, you can go whatever, but here they can basically cross the map and surprise the other player. But there is a really good choking point here, so it is a very interesting map, a very big map, and a lot depends on air on this map. So let us start. I purposefully put it at 0-1. I don't think I'm gonna be setting it to 1 speed because I installed the research mod, the same as Mr. Steeler Girl, and it's gonna show you, and I wanted to keep that at so that you guys can see it and so that I can read it. Anyhow, let's start this game. We can see right away going for cost affecting Mr. Steel Girl, Polar Dr. Crazy, going for all of that jazz, getting cost reduction, Polar Bear and Mr. Steel Girl going for that. Let's go through them again. We have build cost for me, going for air, Polar Bear starting with a mass opening for now. Ori is starting with 1 air factory and 1 research factory, 2 research factories and another air factory. Interesting. Dr. Crazy is going with a research factory, shadow grabbed, weapon range, and build cost reduction and time on his land units. Going for a land opening with 2 pigeons up first. Interesting. Usually you can just grab the land factories before you do that. I am going for 2 air factories. As you can see, I already have those. And let's just see how well that works out for me. Mr. Steeler Girl grabbed 1 research factory, going for 3 land factories and grabbing mass. Pretty nice. Pretty standard opening so far. Scout coming out for Ori. He does have that research factory, which is going to be really, really nice for him going up against me, even though I do have 2 air factories, but I think the numbers are kind of equated by the fact that UEF Air is just so badass. Polar Bear grabbed 2 research factories. We have scouts coming in. Shadow is beginning to build some land factories up front. Really could have grabbed a research station before doing that, but whatever. I think he's floating quite a bit of mass that he could have used for research. just like Girl did here, see? And Girl actually doesn't have any pigeons yet. He's building some over here. This air scout just got through, and I believe mine is going to get picked off, but I'm not too sure. Meanwhile, Crazy grabbed 4 research stations. Interesting. And Polar Bear is still just moving to the front, probably going to build some land factories. I doubt he's going UEF Com Rush. Yep. So actually, both the scouts got away. I was trying to get that other plane, which crazily disappeared from the map. So I'm thinking that was a Control K. Yeah, indeed, it was a Control K. I couldn't find it. I was like, what's going on there? Not um, not common for players to Control K that, although it is a good thing to do. Polar Bear does grab those 2 land factories. Meanwhile, Mr. Steeler Girl is grabbing another research station, which is interesting because he's sort of giving away his early unit advantage back to Polar Bear. Mr. Ori is going for a second air factory. At this point, I have more air than Ori, but I'm not using it too well. And Shadow has grabbed his 3 land factories, obviously, because he started with such a strong economic build. He has money for that. So Mr. Steeler Girl got land rage increase, weapon increase. I'm gonna just put it to +1 so that it's just a little bit faster now that we know what players are doing. 3rd land factory for Polar Bears. Meanwhile, Girl still only has 2 land factories and the same amount of research stations. So clearly there's something off with the build orders. I believe that Polar Bear held off his unit production to build those 3 land factories. He is building a PD in a really good space, going to be protected by all of those factories, but a little bit less range obviously on the front. But I don't think he's too concerned about pushing out just yet. Another air scout for me, gonna get picked off by Ori's air, only 4 units. And at this point, see, that's the downside of not scouting the air player. I did not know that he had such late air and how much research he had. But on the other side, my teammates knew what was going on with their opponents. Polar Bear researched Fat Boy 2, where he researched veterancy rate and probably going for that shield. I researched, holy shit, that's a lot of research in one go. I cannot read that much research, but I will. There will be some tooltip popping up for you guys so that you can see it a bit better. Yeah, so as you can see, OSS builds are not very optimized. Not very optimized. 2 air factories, 4 air factories with only 2 research stations. With not only, but with 2 research stations. Meanwhile, I don't have any research stations. So clearly, optimization with the new patch is not very good. But you did see a nice bombing run here for Mr. Steel Girl. Shadow Research Shajas. Not a bad idea against 4 flippin' research factories and an ACU. Dr. Crazy researched rate of fire on his ACU. He does have that nano gun, and I imagine that's what that was actually, that spam of text. Dr. Ori, build cost reduction for probably air. 4 land factory for Shadow. Not pushing out despite having an advantage, but there is a Cybran ACU with nanogun, and that's where these chokes come into play. Shadow Research Regeneration for all land units, going for those shields and probably eventually teleport. Meanwhile, there is a nice PD MML standoff over here. Polar getting some MMLs, and the land forces surprisingly are so equal right now. 4 land factories versus 3 land factories, though. Another bombing run coming from me, and my planes are gonna get caught out of position quite badly, and there's gonna be an engagement in air, and without any anti-air support, I'm afraid my Aeon Air Force is not going to do much against well, not fully teched, but teched Air Force of a UEF who is getting a 4th air factory. Crazy. Meanwhile, I just got my 3rd air factory and all my air force is wiped out. But I did get some nice bombing runs on Polar Bear's land forces, and he does have that fat boy, but he clearly does not have the research or the money or the ability. Well, the money and therefore the ability to research that. Dr. Crazy researched regeneration on his units, probably going for that mega at this point. If you see those regenerations, usually that means Omega. Meanwhile, Ori got shields. I actually didn't catch if he had those during the air engagement, but might have had that. No, actually probably not have had that because he got that build cost reduction and build time reduction. I'm hiding my air and going for research stations because I'm down in air and I need to equate my disadvantage somehow, and I'm not going to do that by building air alone because holy crap, that's a lot of wasps. Fatboy coming out for Mr. Polar, and a Megalith coming out for Mr. Crazy. Ridiculous. Very, very bad optimization. Build optimization errors from our team. Cobras being researched, Bada Booms being researched, and really wild, all over the place research for Shadow. Polar Bear research radar. Not a bad idea. And I guess what Shadow should have done was used his land against Polar earlier because Dr. Crazy was not going to push. There was no way that he would have pushed past these shields here, especially with a few Shajas here. And now after 10 minutes, almost 11 minutes of game, Shadow looks like he's going to assist Girl in his attacking attempts, but by this time, he's just giving the MM even more advantage as Crazy's finishing his 2nd air gantry. And we see Ori research the, oh, what is that called? Air Fortress, I believe. I'm not sure if it has a distinct name, but it's called an Air Fortress, I know that. And that's going to give him an even bigger production advantage, but I built 4 research stations. If that counts for anything against 3-2 research stations has been there for practically the entirety of that game. At first Fat Boy just came out, but our OSS team is pushing out, and I've scouted, and I believe that scout was for ACU snipe, actually. But as you can see on this side, very, very threatening or scary push coming out with a Megalith and an ACU that's been teched up the wazoo, and Shadow just misses that ACU, and he's actually, Polar Bear is actually researching ACU upgrades such as health and whatnot, but with a good teleport that wouldn't matter. And actually, our OSS team has broken through Polar Bear's space completely, and I'm starting to get back air. I just researched chrome shields on my units, but I'm still down a vast amount of air, and the first mega fortress, sorry, it's a mega fortress, not an air fortress, is out. Indeed, more teleport coming out, but at this point the mega has hit the front of Shadow's base. No shields, and no units going to be completely overwhelmed by this force. I could have seen that there was air on this side of the map and used my air against this megalith, but I do not have air. And like I said at the beginning of this game, air plays a very important role on this map. Polar Bear goes down, and I think I didn't spot this Mega Fortress either this time around. So Polar Bear went down. Um, Good collaboration between Shadow and Girl, but I think it should have came earlier. Third land gantry coming out. No land units coming out whatsoever. PD coming out, and the megaliths are forced to push back. But at this point, the damage has been done. My air is going to come in and try to bomb these planes. It looks like Ori does not notice it yet. Crazy research. Tyrannosaurus Rex. Jesus, I don't think that actually came out this game, but that's crazy. Mr. Steel Girl health and regeneration on his ACU. And it looks like Ori was going for a snipe there with a mega cannon, but oh boy. Not a very good. Oh, okay. I was gonna take out this mega fortress. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Gonna give me some RP, but I'm probably gonna lose my air force again. But there's a nice engagement for me here over AAs, but at this point there's just way too much damn air for Ori. Going more Shadow retreated to my base and is building countless research stations. Pretty much the only thing he can do at this point. Girl is attempting to push, but there's just way too much AoE, and there's really no point. He's just going to lose all his air force. I trained my units to level 4 training. Dr. Crazy research rate of fire on all land units, shadow research damage on ACU, basically just taking his ACU, hoping for some overcharge fun at later stages. Meanwhile, Mr. Girl is getting some more research stations, a lot of research stations so far, and already began bomber production. So at this point, the longer you wait, the more power you give to factions like Cybern, with 4 freaking land factories. And is he building a Rex? I'm not sure. No, that looks like it's a Mega. I'm not sure what's in there. Mega and Mega. Yeah, only Megas so far. And some pigeons, I imagine that's for detonation, but it might be to power these megaliths as well. Not a bad idea. Overwhelming advantage for our white player in air, and I think that's where most of our difficulties came from this game, was from not having a decent air army. Research more damage on ACU. And speed on ACU. That was an interesting choice. I actually don't remember doing that. Some Gauss cannons for Girl, and I researched. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what it was for. It was for Honker because I saw this Air Force flanking, and basically at that point, you know that the UEF player is going for a snipe. Could have microed my ACU better here. There were some shields left over on that factory that I could have utilized, and I'm just trying to kill off those bombers. But at this point, it's pretty much too late. There's a lot of air power here, and those mega fortresses are not shabby at attacking ground units, and my ACU is going to blow up in a mushroom cloud here in a second. I'm researching training, hoping that I have just enough time to do something about this, but nope, my air force is gone and there's not enough AA. Did stall it a bit, but not with much avail. And actually, there is a Tyrannosaurus Rex over here. Gonna finish off Shadow's base. The girl, meanwhile, did push, but there are mech guns on this UF's base. And from this point on, OSS has a very, very huge disadvantage, which they really had ever since I lost my air advantage, or never had my air advantage, I guess. Shadow trying to build some more research, and really from this point, the team starts to push back everything and lock everything down. Mr. Steal Your Girl is about to blow up. Really weird honker animation. And OSS loses with this one, unfortunately. A couple of huge mistakes that I pointed out once again um, for OSS was build order optimization. I know Shadow is trying to get something to work here, but there's just nothing that's gonna work here, especially with um, I think that was actually an escape pod. But anyway, another disadvantage was that, or mistake, whatever, I lost my air, even though I had 2 air factories at the beginning against um, a research station and 1 air factory from Ori. Again, a build order optimization error. And last error was that Shadow didn't use his overwhelming amount of units in the beginning to assist Girl in defeating Polar Bear. He could have done so while keeping his land units safe behind some factory shields and Shah just sniping the tech ACU from crazy. And then there was something else I wanted to point out, but I forget. Um, Not really, I guess. Maybe killing off Polar Bear wasn't the best choice over here. Probably a better choice actually would have been to snipe um, Ori, but regardless, had an advantage there by that time anyhow. The biggest factor in this game, I think, was that Shadow didn't use his forces and basically didn't use his build order that he was going for, which wasn't entirely optimized anyway. Anyhow, good game, It was a very fun game, regardless of the outcome, and I really, really hoped you liked this video. If you did, please thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to send me your replays at empirecivilizaaion at gmail.com, and I will cast those for you. Looking forward to doing more of these, and have a good day, everybody. Peace.